Welcome in, everybody. It's your boys Aaron and Ray here with Franchise Tag Fantasy Football. Ray's back with the old fist bumping. So on today's episode, we're still in divisional breakdowns. We're going to go over the AFC South breakdown. But please, before we get too far into it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live or post new videos. And then, with that, let's kind of just jump straight into it. What's going on, Ray? How's your week been?
You know, it's been pretty real. And I got into it with a coworker the other day. I was talking about, what burger is the best burger.
Uh-oh.
And I threw something out at him. I want to hear what you have to say. Look, maybe this is spicy. Maybe this is a hot take. Wendy's has the best fast food burger you can go and grab right now. Like, if you can just go to a drive-thru, get yourself a burger. Wendy's is top tier. It's A class. It's way up here.
Fast food, you're talking about restaurants
Like
that
just
have to have a
like
drive-thru?
a chain. I'm talking like if you went to like McDonald's.
So no Smash Burger, no Five Guys, no.
Nah. Just a regular, like, I'm talking like, say Carl's Jr., Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's. Wendy's is top tier. That's it. There's no question.
I think I could get behind that.
Can you?
I think so. The
Now, I will
Baconators,
say-
bro, are on point.
I will say, if you have a chance, if you wake up early enough and you have a chance to go get yourself a breakfast on a bun, it is a breakfast on a bun on a breakfast burger. I don't care what those people like Carl's Jr. say. It's the best thing that's ever existed in a wrapper. Go get yourself one.
I don't have Carl's Jr. around me.
Yeah, you have a Hardee's. It's the same thing.
I don't have a Hardee's around me.
Really?
Not anywhere close. I'd have to actually like drive to go get one.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oof.
and I'm not. No offense, but I'm not taking like a 30-minute drive to get some fast food.
Nah, not worth it.
Not
Hey,
worth it at all.
so today we're going to be talking about the AFC South breakdown.
We are.
This is a poopy division.
It's not a poopy division. It just happens to be a pretty lopsided, and I would say division. I mean, it's the NFL. Every week, anybody can win any given Sunday or Monday or Thursday. But
Or Tuesdays, I guess. Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
no, because they don't play Tuesdays, Wednesdays.
Well, they were going to with COVID. Maybe they, I was kind of shocked that they didn't go into like Tuesday and Wednesday games more and more because, I mean, look at that. There's added revenue
Dude, they added revenue, but those people on the back end that did the schedule were just like panicking. Like, what are we going to do with this? What are we going to do?
Oh,
and
yeah.
The Steelers got screwed over a little bit last year.
A little.
With their stuff. I know for fantasy purposes of all of that stuff last year, our league specifically was like, well, what about this and what about that?
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of have to take into your own consideration of what did we end up doing? We ended up doing, you get to go ahead and name players the beginning of the week that would take over and fill for, like, say if you had the Steelers and Juju you had on your roster, but then they ended up not playing the game that week. You got to pick your substitute. You had to name them before the game started, but you got to name your substitute, so then we would manually override and put him into the roster.
Yeah. And I think that's like a key point. So I just want to keep hammering this home as much as I can. Keep your league open for discussion. Don't just say, like, this is how we're going to do it, because staying so static, that would have been a nightmare last season.
If you happen to be in one of the leagues that have a commissioner or a couple guys that run it, and they're just sticks in the mud and it's their way or the highway, now it's the off season. It's the perfect time to start bringing in like hey, we need to do a majority rules vote, or put power into the hands of the people. That way you don't get stuck with like, well, you got to have your roster set before game. Sorry, if you didn't play, you didn't play, because you don't want that, man. You want competitive games, but you also want it to still be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know. With that being said, we can just jump right into this. What do you say?
yeah, AFC South breakdown. You want to start with the Jags?
Yeah, let's start with the Jags, man. Look, Trevor Lawrence's hype train is just when is it going to stop? They're saying this guy's going to be an international star on ESPN. Like, he hasn't taken a snap in the NFL. Let's let this man
He's
play.
never lost a regular season football game, right?
He's never played in the NFL, in the National Football League.
He's gonna lose his first ever regular season game this year.
I guarantee it. I promise you, with everything I am, that he will lose the game.
The odds are against him.
He's He's a stud for sure. And I think that Jags team is going to be pretty nice in a couple seasons. I don't think it's going to be this season. The number one thing that I really want to like key in on, I saw a couple posts about Travis Etienne running with the receivers and whatnot. He's doing all this Kareem Hunt kind of things that Kareem Hunt was doing with the Browns. How many times did Kareem Hunt line in a receiver? Not very much. It's all like camp fodder. So don't buy into that kind of nonsense.
I know we talked about it. We talked about it last week, but since you just brought that up, sorry to cut you off. But we did talk about the Bengals last week. I did see reports that Joe Mixon was doing the same thing. So this just hammers home your point of this is literally just camp talk.
Now, I will say that could mean just a little bit, like take this for a grain of salt, that he is going to be involved in the passing game a little more than what, let's say, I don't know, who am I trying to think? Maybe a Derrick Henry. I don't even think Derrick Henry would be a good comp, but a 3-down back that isn't necessarily involved in the passing game very often. Maybe this means that he might get a couple more.
Since we're talking about the Jags, the early years Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah, just something to definitely monitor. You're gonna want to take away a couple notes from what it looks like in training camp and what it's going to look like in their preseason games. That's going to be the key marker as to say how much Travis Etienne is going to be used throughout the season, I think. Because they still have James Robinson, and I don't think he's going to go anywhere.
I do.
You do? You think
but not immediately. So don't hear what I'm not saying, people out there who like to think that people are clueless. I don't think that he's going to go away immediately, but I think that, I mean, you have a late first round draft pick and a running back, right? And then you have an last year undrafted free agent rookie. Talent is eventually going to win out. James Robinson, I do believe, is talented, but I don't think he's as talented as Travis Etienne. So I feel like eventually it might start off, a 50-50 and then just steadily kind of just work its way down where James Robinson eventually just gets played off the field.
Now, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, but let's just go into some other guys that they picked up. Marvin Jones is one of the key guys they did go and grab. Mm-hmm. Do you think that he's the 1A, 1B in that situation?
Who would be the second with him?
Chark. Maybe Laviska Shenault. I don't know. It's such a muddy water.
Thing. It's number one. Yes, it is a muddied water because the people that we've known for the last 2 or 3 seasons, DJ Chark, Keelan Cole, Laviska Shenault last year who just came out. That was with the Gardner Minshew experiment and the Nick Foles experiment, and I think D.D. Westbrook had a hype train there for a little bit too.
He did.
So now we have a whole entire new quarterback. Undisputed starting quarterback for the Jags is Trevor Lawrence. No one knows who he's going to favor going into the season. It is all speculation at this point in time, right? Would you say that that's fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean...
So as far as the 1A, 1B situation goes, man, it could be Laviska Shenault is 1A on... playing slot or whatever, and Marvin Jones happens to be the number 2 with deep balls. Like, I can't give a valid, solid opinion on that. Up until at least, August.
Preseason.
Yeah, early August, preseason, to kind of see how the chemistry's turned out from all these OTAs and camp and training camp and everything else. But I would say that I would probably put Marvin Jones as at least the 1B.
Yeah. I would think that, and this is just kind of like my mentality of how the Jags are going to operate going into the season. I think what you're going to see is Chark is probably the 1A. I can't see him not being. He's too talented. I think you're going to see Marvin Jones as a red zone threat. That's what he was really good at in Detroit. Catching touchdown passes. That's what he was there to do. Not necessarily a high volume guy. I think your high volume guy, your slot receiver, your dump off pass is going to be Laviska Shenault. Mm-hmm. But to say that, to have that all said, the Jags in general, and this is for fantasy purposes, I think that their receiving core is a little too, or their pie is a little too small to support three, let's say, receiver twos.
Fantasy purposes, well, new head coach, new coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
New quarterback.
this would be a year that I would take if you have DJ Chark, dynasty keeper, something like that. I would hold for now. Even Laviska Shenault, if you can keep him late, or have him on a dynasty roster or whatever, hold for now just to kind of see how it goes. But then normally after the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, anyways, you kind of know how a team's going to be, how players are kind of going to do. So hold for now. Wait for more stuff to come out of camp, more videos, things like that. Speaking of videos, Tim Tebow has had a lot of love in OTAs.
Look, Tebow is looking jacked. You seen this dude? Double bicepped up.
Pretty massive. His biceps have biceps who have biceps.
That dude is jacked. He looks huge. So there was a video you just sent me on Discord. You sent me a video of him running routes and stuff like that. He definitely looks slow. Maybe they're running half speed. Maybe that's what's happening. I don't know.
Maybe,
I will say,
but coming out of breaks don't look too great for Tim Tebow. However, on a good note for Tim Tebow, the videos and footage that I've seen of him actually like running pass blocking, he looks pretty good, blocking wise for a blocking tight end. But the route running, like you said, maybe it was half speed, maybe whatever, but just running a simple out route, man, that cut was garbage time.
Yeah.
It was not good.
I don't think I'm drafting Tim Tebow, but I just want to see him. I just want to see him catch touchdown passes. That's all I want.
I don't know, man.
Watch ESPN meltdown. I don't know. I think that's all I got for the Jags, honestly. You know what I'd like to cap this off with? Where are you going to draft Trevor Lawrence? Where would you feel comfortable drafting him at?
He would be like a Joe Burrow for me last year, which would be the end of the draft.
Okay.
Because we've talked about it multiple times. We'll talk about it again. Fantasy purposes, there's 32 teams in the NFL. There's normally 40 quarterback ones on any given season. So take the known commodities that you know are going to be good for fantasy in your draft, and then if you're in a keeper or a dynasty, or I probably wouldn't draft them redraft leagues. But if I was in a keeper league or something like that, where you get to keep a couple picks going into the next season at value, and when I say at value, I mean where you drafted them the previous season, I'd take them, 14th, 15th round, towards the end of the draft.
I can get behind that. Maybe take your shot a little sooner than that if you're sitting.
If you play super flex, yeah, probably take your a little.
Yeah, that's where I was going to. Or if you're in a keeper and you're at the tail end of your draft, a 12th pick, 13th pick, maybe take a shot there. See if you can capitalize on, let's say a Justin Herbert this year. If you got Justin Herbert last year, you kept him this year, he costs you nothing because you probably drafted him at like the very back end of your draft. Similar to this is that you could get a Trevor Lawrence super late, keep him, and now you're set up for success, not having to use one of those premium picks on quarterback early, kind of shaping your keeper league draft.
Yeah.
How about Travis Etienne? That's the last one I want to go over. Where would you feel comfortable drafting him at right now, if you had to draft right now?
5th round, maybe.
I'm a lot colder on him. I would probably take a look at about the 8th round. I'm feeling comfortable.
I don't think he makes it there.
I don't think he does either, but I'm feeling comfortable if he's there 8th round. I'm probably taking him.
That's why I said 5th, because I don't think that he makes it past the 6th for sure. So you'd have to be kind of, in your case, and probably my case too, reaching just a little bit. But like I said, even though Urban Meyer said he's going to be primarily a 3rd down back, you don't spend a 1st round draft pick on a 3rd down running back.
No.
So that's coach speak, but he's, like I said, he's one of those guys that I do think will eventually have the whole workload by the end of the season, probably by midway through the season, honestly.
Yeah, I could see that.
So
I don't
yeah,
know.
for fantasy purposes, I am hold on Chark and Chenault. If you can get Marvin Jones late, like you could normally get him in Detroit, I would take Marvin Jones late. Trevor Lawrence late, Travis Etienne. If you're really, really, really desperate for a running back, say you try to do a zero running back strategy and stuff, I'd be looking at the fifth for Etienne.
Yeah, and if you did a zero running back, most likely, there's going to be some running back still. Not some, but a real slim amount of running backs you can, you know, post your flag on, and I think the Travis Etienne might be one of those guys. I see some pretty good workload coming his way, even if he was a third down back. They're going to be behind, so they're going to have to be throwing the ball a lot, and Travis Etienne could be in for a lot of pass catching dump off passes, and that's the passes that I want in my flex or something like that,
Yeah. All right, let's jump into the Colts next. The Indianapolis Colts. Phillip Rivers retired. You know, Marlon Mack gets to come back for a year, even though it's kind of Jonathan Taylor's show now. But at least the Colts were cool enough to be like, yo, last year was a contract year for you. You tore your Achilles in the first quarter of the first game of the season. Yeah, I mean, it could have went totally different for Marlon Mack last year. But anyways, you want to talk about Carson Wentz? Because that's obviously the biggest signing that we can talk about for the Colts.
I just want to point out just one thing, and I understand that there's probably a lot of people that are real off on Carson Wentz. I don't think he's that bad. I don't think that his situation in Philadelphia was, predicated on his poor play. I mean, he had something to do with it, but I mean, think about last season. Name the receivers that he had to throw to prior to getting benched for Jalen Hurts. Travis Fulgham, a practice squad cut player that they threw in and he stuck. Greg Ward.
Everyone was hyped up Jalen Reagor, but look what happened. Dude didn't play.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that everybody was hurt. So I think that on paper, and I wrote this in the show doc, on paper, this seems to be an upgrade from what Phillip Rivers was at the tail end of the season for the Colts. He didn't look great. He didn't look good at all. He looked like a man that needed to retire, and he did. I think Carson Wentz coming in with, a returning T.Y. Hilton. You have Zach Pascal. You have
Michael Pittman
Jr. I think you could, and you have a what seems to be a stud running back behind you guys. That's key for any productive offense, I think. Carson Wentz is going to be in line for a good season. That's my take right there. I really do believe that.
He's reunited with Frank Reich, who, when he was in Philadelphia, Carson Wentz had the whole ginormous MVP season until he decided he was going to dive in the end zone and somehow blow his knee out. And then Nick Foles took him to the Super Bowl. I mean, I'm being honest.
Yeah,
he looked really good there. So as we were talking about beforehand, and we were going over the show doc and stuff, and you told me your Carson Wentz take. So this came out, it was last year or the year before, and it's per Fox Sports is what it was. It was on a Fox NFL broadcast. Carson Wentz is the first quarterback and still the only quarterback in NFL history to throw for 4,000 yards and not have a single wide receiver have 500 yards receiving. Now, obviously, when I say that stat, people are going to be like, but Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is labeled as a tight end. He's not a wide receiver. The Eagles have not had any good wide receivers while Carson Wentz has been there. People will be like, well, what about Alshon Jeffrey and this, that? You got Alshon Jeffrey on the back end of his career. You got Djax, who played, a total of, I think, 6 games with Carson Wentz in 2 seasons.
I think it's 6. I don't even think it's 6.
So, I mean, to be fair, man, like I said, the dude, like you brought up, who did he really have to throw the ball to?
Nobody. You
can make the argument for the Colts too. I get where some people are saying, but T.Y.'s on the back end of his career, and what have Pittman Jr. and Pascal done? we're gonna see. They're still both pretty young.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the outcome, the range of outcomes for Carson Wentz, I think, are higher
The
in
offensive line is a lot better.
Indianapolis. What's that?
The Colts offensive line is night and day difference from
Yes,
Philadelphia.
yes. Their
So that
defense, night and
their
day.
defense is outstanding. Yeah, so that will definitely
I
give him a lot more opportunity to do what he needs to. And people tend to forget he's not the most mobile quarterback, but for fantasy purposes, he can still scramble if he needs to.
Yeah, and I like you were just saying, we were just talking about right here. Their defense being night and day, he's going to be in more
Game-winning
offense
situations.
friendly, game friendly situations than he was in Philadelphia, where he's just running around for his life
Mm-hmm.
on the 20-yard line, like not being able to move the ball because he doesn't have anybody to throw to. He didn't really necessarily have a great running game with Miles Sanders. I don't think that Miles Sanders compares to a Jonathan Taylor. I don't think that's. I don't think they
I would say
compare.
that's fair to say.
And then you also have a Naeem Hines that they did not have that kind of weapon in Philadelphia. And I'm just gonna just hype up Naeem Hines, man. Just hype him up a little more, you know?
Yeah, because what? I mean, at running back, they went through three or four, and they
I'm not
brought in
sure.
Jay Ajayi at one point in time. Like, you haven't heard that name in forever.
Ooh,
You know
rough.
what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, the Eagles are just one of those bottom fourth of the, I won't even say third, fourth of the league, fifth of the league teams. Like, they're
Mm-hmm.
just sorry, but they're not they've shot themselves in the foot. But we're on to the Colts. So let's continue to
Yeah.
talk about the Colts. So in the draft this year, you talked about the defense. In the draft this year, they helped out their defense by drafting back-to-back defensive ends in Quiddy Payne and Deo Ode Ingbo. Sorry, that one's a little hard to say. But they literally drafted back-to-back first and second round defensive ends. Like, your defense was already really good. Now all you're doing is sitting there bolstering up your defensive line. Um, they signed they didn't really do much to help the offense out. They signed a tight end, Kylan Granson, in the fourth. They've got Jack Doyle and Mo Alley Cox. He's probably not going to get any playing time, but I'm just noting who they signed on offense. And then Sam Ellinger, he was a Texas quarterback. They signed him in the sixth. Per their depth chart right now, he's fourth on the depth chart. So he might get signed to the practice squad by the end of the season. But like I said, those are just really the only two notable offensive signings that the Colts did this year. As
Yeah,
far or
there
not
wasn't.
signings, but draft picks that the Colts had this year.
Yeah.
So
I would say that Kellen Granson might be their future endeavor at tight end. I don't know how long Jack Doyle's going to have that job for. I don't know how much they trust Mo Alley Cox. But third round tight ends, that's not something to shake a stick at. You spent that's a premium
yeah,
draft pick.
yeah.
Something
I'm not.
something to monitor, something to keep an
I
eyeball
think
out.
him and Sam Ellinger both probably end up on the practice squad at the end of training camp this year, and then possibly next year. Is it Kellen or Kylan?
I think it's Kellen.
Anyways, I think he will probably be on the roster next year if he doesn't make it this year.
I'm bringing up Kellen Granson just because I want to make sure that those guys that are playing Dynasty. I mean, the tight end landscape sucks.
You're not lying.
Soccer sucks.
You're not wrong there, buddy.
So maybe something to look at. You know, you'd probably get him for free 99.
Maybe. What do you think about people in Dynasty trying to give little for Carson Wentz, trying to trade for him on the cheap if he's not on the wire already?
I don't mind. I don't mind somebody trying to trade for him. I mean, I would label Carson Wentz right now in a redraft as a streaming candidate for sure, and maybe a
Agreed.
top end streaming candidate. I would probably want to stream him over the likes of a Jared Goff. I would like to stream him over the likes of
Zach
um,
Wilson.
Zach Wilson, or whenever Kellen Mond takes over for Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. I'd rather have Carson Wentz.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's basically like if you can get something, you can get Carson Wentz for something cheap. You know, don't break the bank for him, but I don't mind that at all. That's a good move.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. You ready to jump into the third team?
No, no, I don't want to. I would not like to.
No.
Um, third team in this division, not necessarily ranking wise, but the one we're going to talk about is the Texans. And I'm sure that everybody listening to the show probably understands that we don't know what's going to happen with the Deshaun Watson fiasco that's going on right now. Is he going to play there? Is he going to play somewhere else? Is he going to play football ever again? Who knows? Who knows? I'm going to go
Nobody
about
knows.
this.
He
Yeah,
still has said he wants a trade, even with all the stuff that's been going on or whatever. He still does not want to play for the Texans. So
I've still said that I would like to have $1 billion in my bank account. So you can say all those things all you want. I don't know if he's going to play football again. I don't know that. Don't know. But I'm going to go about this thinking that he is not playing for the Texans. I'm going to
and
base this off of that.
I feel like most everyone, fantasy analysts, projections, everything like that, has the Texans statted as Tyrod Taylor being the starter and not Deshaun Watson.
I will say, and I know that we're kind of jumping the gun here, but they didn't have a whole lot of draft picks in this draft. They didn't.
Thanks to Bill
And
O'Brien giving all of their draft picks away.
bad look, guy. Bad look. But if you're gonna have such limited resources to get into the draft and you're in a rebuild, for sure. Even if Watson was playing today, they're still in a rebuild. Their team is
Yeah,
awful.
100%.
100% awful. Then you're not gonna go ahead and draft Davis Mills with your what was it, their second round pick? They have a second round pick, right?
Second or third? I thought it was the third.
It might have been the third. Maybe it was the second. Doesn't matter. It was their very first pick in the draft, and they went after a quarterback. Now, granted, everything that you look at his draft profile for Davis Mills says that he's uh, developmental quarterback. You're going to have him there for a number of years before you might see anything out of him. He could only just be a backup. But you don't spend draft capital of that magnitude on somebody that you didn't think had a shot of playing in your system, or as an insurance policy to say, hey, we don't have anybody else that we can even put on the field right now. Do you think that Tyrod Taylor is going to make a difference? Nope. Do you think that anybody else in their quarterback room means anything? No. So them drafting Davis Mills kind of tells me that they don't think Deshaun Watson will be there.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
That's the only thing I take away from it.
So, like we said, they added Tyrod Taylor in the offseason to be their starter. Everyone's projecting Tyrod Taylor to be their starter. All the season projection stats you see, everything like that, is Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. Look at it this way. Brandon Cooks will be their number one receiver, correct?
Dante Moncrief?
No.
Ooh.
Brandon Cooks will be the number one receiver in that offense, right? So, answer me this, Ray. When Tyrod Taylor was going to be the starting quarterback for the Chargers, who was trying to draft Keenan Allen? Is Keenan Allen better than Brandon Cooks is my question.
Yes.
So, think of it that way. No one wanted Keenan Allen, and he is night and day different. Well, I would say night and day. But he's better than Brandon Cooks.
At the game of football, yes.
Okay. So as long as we're kind of on the same page there.
We are.
If that says anything about what to expect for the Texans. They signed Philip Lindsay as well. I don't really see that being much of anything, to be honest with you.
You can get him, I mean, real late. We're talking past the 10th round. He's going to get that volume. Is it good volume? No. No. Do I want it? No.
Yeah. JJ Watt's gone. I mean, to be fair, he's not the JJ Watt of old that we knew, but he was still probably one of their better defensive players.
Yes.
Definitely the locker room guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he's gone. Anything else?
You know what? I want to talk about Nico Collins for a second. This is for Dynasty guys again. So I understand that the Texans are a literal dumpster fire right now. I understand that. They did draft a guy in Nico Collins that is a freak athlete. Freak. The one thing that I did see on his draft profiles that was, a knock on him was that he was slow off of burst. He wasn't a good accelerator. But the guy ran a 4.43. So, and he's 6'4", 215 right now. Probably put on a few more pounds to that frame. He's a freak of nature. Something to take a look at maybe a little later in your rookie draft there. Maybe stash that away. Might be something nice later. A little present.
I heard slacks burst but ran a 4.43. I was like, Jesus.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand. Oh, who's doing the writing over there at NFLnetwork.com, but not a sponsor at all. But I don't understand their logic behind that. But it doesn't matter. He's probably not going to go very high in your rookie drafts or your dynasty pickups. He's definitely not a guy you're looking at redraft at all. Not a guy you're looking at as a keeper at all. But in a dynasty, maybe take a look at that guy, because eventually the Texans will start to get a little better than they are now. He will be the number one in that team. Brandon Cooks isn't going to be there forever. Brandon Cooks isn't a number one. He's just not. Dante Moncrief isn't going to be eaten into his practice reps. That dude's been a bum forever.
Wow.
Their team is awful.
Their team is not good. I'm staying away from just about any and every.
Yeah.
I mean, I might take David Johnson because the only thing they're really going to be able to do is run the ball, and we'll just see. I don't know. I probably wouldn't, though. Last but certainly not least is the Tennessee Titans. I think everyone probably has them as the favorites in this division. Notable off seasons: they lost both cornerbacks. So Malcolm Butler and who's his other cornerback? Audrey something. Can't remember his last name.
Can't remember his name either.
But anyways, they signed Janoris Jenkins. They signed Bud Dupree. They signed Danico Autry from the Colts. So in-season signing here in the offseason. It's kind of a good addition to the D-line as well, even though they added 2 defensive ends. Danico Autry was double-teamed on 57.8% of snaps last year with the Colts. So over half the time he's getting double-teamed.
That's with DeForest Buckner there too.
Yeah, which definitely helps just about anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, they did not draft a tight end. They did not pick up a veteran tight end in the offseason, and they lost Jonnu Smith to the Patriots. So Anthony Ferkser is probably going to be your one look at tight end there, unless something happens after June 1st or whatever. The rest of the offseason, just monitor it. But outside of A.J. Brown, Ferkser is their only top 5 receiving option returning.
I want to just throw this out there. This is where all the hype is for Julio. This is it right here. Julio's going to Tennessee. That's happening. You guys can just mark it now. Take a look. I think I said it 30 minutes into the show. That's happening. Julio Jones is going to Tennessee. And I don't care if you think that's going to hurt my A.J. Brown take or my A.J. Brown love. Absolutely not. No way. Did it hurt Calvin Ridley? Did it hurt him at all? I'm telling you no. This is.
I know.
I want Julio Jones there so bad.
I can tell. I mean, it definitely would help. It would help if Julio Jones went there. It would definitely help AJ Brown. I mean, AJ Brown is going to be good with or without Julio. I'm warming up on him from your take of he can finish number 1 overall. I'm still not completely sold on him being able to finish number 1 overall, just because of the way their offense is. But A.J. Brown will be good and maybe be able to finish as number 1 overall if some other guys kind of regress a little bit.
Just remember where you heard it from first. You didn't hear it from any other fantasy football podcast. I promise you.
That is
because I beat all of them to it. I listened to them all, and I beat them all to it.
That is
Said
fair.
it first.
For their draft, for them to help out the secondary of losing both starting corners, they drafted Caleb Farley at number 22 from Virginia Tech. He was injured in college. They do expect him to be ready to go by season start, though. They expect him to be able to be a day one starter. You don't spend a first round pick on someone that you don't expect to be able to play day one, unless it's a quarterback. Obviously, that's just a football move. He could either play day once, sit and wait. They needed a little offensive line help, so they drafted Dylan, I think it's Rad News from North Dakota State. It was a left tackle for your boy Trey Lance. They drafted him in the second round. They did draft another cornerback in the third. I think that might be kind of a little cover up for in case Caleb Farley can't go. They have another potential there. And then they drafted a couple wide receivers in the later rounds to kind of bolster that wide receiver room. But that's really about it.
I will say that Caleb Farley, now, let's talk specifically like where he was drafted and how his injury played into that. He was up there with Greg Newsome as one of the best corners in this draft. And the only reason he fell that far was because of his injury. Yeah. Now, if he can come out, you don't know who's going to come back from what injury and how they're going to come back from it. But if he can come back from that injury, man, the Titans got a steal. You're talking about a top 10 corner.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He was projected to go before, like, pick, what was it, 18 or 15 or 18 or something like that.
And yeah, he was.
The injury dropped.
That's what everybody was saying during the draft too. Was that he's a guy that could have went in the top 5. That's how good he was. So just something to think about their defense and maybe putting them in a better situation going forward throughout this next season than what they were last season. You saw a few games that they had played where they weren't able to dictate how much they could give the ball to Derrick Henry. So in that case, they weren't able to dictate the play action, which hurt their passing game. That's how their whole offense is kind of set up. So this signing and the assurance that they had got throughout the defensive line will definitely help them be in better game script going forward, giving A.J. Brown more chances to be the number 1 receiver in the NFL.
I feel that. I mean, I can see where you're coming from.
I'm just here just spitting knowledge, truth, dreams.
I can see where you're coming from. I mean, do you have anything else really to talk about with the Titans?
No, not really, no.
Sorry, my dog wants attention right now, so if you hear the little growls, it's him. I mean, the door is open. I don't know what he wants right now. But anyways.
I heard that great friend of the show, Leandra, she likes the pups. I heard that.
She's probably actually going to be our social media superstar once we get everything up and running, as far as Instagram, Facebook, and stuff. In case you guys don't know, but most of you do, that's Ray's wife. She's a lovely lady.
Great friend of the show.
She's a lovely lady. So you want to give your season predictions first? Or you want me to give mine?
I'll give mine first because I haven't even looked at yours yet.
Actually, you want to go back and forth? You say a team, give yours, and then I say a team, give mine.
Let's do that.
All right.
So I'm going to start it off with the Titans going 12-5.
Okay.
12 wins too much for you?
Borderline cusp when I was statting out my season projections of wins here. I have the Titans going 11-6.
They're pretty close.
We're
not
close.
Too spicy.
We're close. Everyone who thinks, oh my goodness, new 17 game season, 18 week season, 17 game season. They finished with 10 last year, didn't they? 10 wins, 11 wins. I'd have to
11 wins.
Let me vet really quick.
I'm pretty sure it was 11 wins, but the reason I think they're going to finish so high, I understand that they lost a few pieces on offense. I get that, and I understand that they didn't necessarily have a great defense. But what they did in the draft,
they finished 11-5 last year.
Yeah, what they did in the draft, and with the step from A.J. Brown, and I think Julio Jones when he gets there, it's going to put this team over the top. This is a pretty scary team. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a pretty scary team.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. That most definitely see that. They definitely by far, I think, have the most well-rounded team in the division. You want to
Just
go
scroll.
next?
I
What's
just
up?
scrolled down to look at your projection.
Oh, sorry, dog's barking. What's
I,
up,
I
bro?
thought I thought I was super high on the Colts going 9-8. I don't know, 10 wins? Jesus.
So per Raymond here talking, I have the Colts going 10-7. What do you have them at?
I have 9-8. I understand that
You know
that's
how
a one game difference.
you know what they finished last year?
They also had a potential Hall of Famer at quarterback, and now you're really putting a lot of faith in Carson Wentz. I understand I talked him up right now,
No, I'm
but
not putting
I
a lot of faith in Carson Wentz. I'm putting a lot of faith in Jonathan Taylor and how he ended the
ooh,
season.
okay, well,
Because
10 and
Ray,
7.
Ray, hear me out here.
Okay.
10-7 is not that difficult. You add a whole entire extra game to the season. Therefore, I have them losing 2 more games than they did last year, but technically winning the same amount. I think that the whole Jonathan Taylor thing, if you have a great run game, it opens up the passing game. Look at the Titans. You have Ryan Tannehill looking like the most efficient quarterback in the NFL because he can throw the ball to A.J. Brown because guess what? You can't afford to not put focus on Derrick Henry. Like that's just how it
That's
is. And
true.
I think that if you don't put focus in Jonathan Taylor will be able to get the job done when needed to.
You're starting to sell me on the 10 wins. I'm going to stay at mine at 9-8. I think that's where they finish. Um, I think only just because it's going to be a little bit of growing pains at first.
Mm-hmm.
I think they lose a few games because of it, and that's why they finish at 9-8.
That's fair. You gonna go next?
Sure. The Jags 6-11. Like I said, I'm not sitting here hating on Trevor Lawrence, and I think that what the Jags are doing is everything in the right direction. It's so difficult to come into a system with a new quarterback, a new offensive coordinator, a new coach, and expect to win, go positive during that season. It's so difficult. I don't think that they're there yet, but in the next couple years, you're going to see the Jags starting to fight the Titans as the number one team in that division.
Think so?
Oh yeah.
Mm. Anyways, I have the Jags at 7-10, so we're not far off on much of our projections here. I have them at 7-10. I could see a couple games on their schedule being swing games where they could go either direction, but as you said, they're definitely not coming out and having a winning record this year. I might honestly be a little too high at 7-10.
Yeah, because
And I
I
could see
felt high
myself
at 6
there.
wins.
I feel a little high, like thinking about it now after doing it, after looking at the schedule and everything. But they do play the Texans twice.
That's 2
And
wins.
that's almost a guarantee of 2 wins. And then a few other teams on their schedule. You could see them squeaking out 7. But yeah, I'd probably be more comfortable with yours after doing all of this, saying 6-11 or 5-12.
Yeah.
So I do think I might be a little too high on this one right here, but I can admit when I'm maybe a little bit too high and wrong on that one. And then finally, the last team of the division, we both have them at 1-16.
Who do they beat,
That
Aaron? Who do you think they beat?
so I could see a Jag swing game because they play them like I think the 3rd week of the season. So that's still pretty new in the system and everything for Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. But I can see them potentially beating the Jags, the Jets, the Dolphins. I know we haven't talked about them yet, but I don't have much faith in Tua. I know the Dolphins defense is good, but that's a potential like another what do they call it in the NFL? Trap game. Thank you.
There it is.
A trap game. That's what I was looking for. And possibly if we get last year's opening season Patriots, I could see the Texans possibly beating the Patriots because they play them like week 5 or 6. But it is like we did at the top of the show. It is the NFL. Any given week, any team can win. We saw it last year with the Jaguars who beat the Colts week 1. Colts went on to be 11-5, and Jaguars went on to be 1-16. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
what about you, Ray?
I think they're going to beat the Jets. And the only reason I think that is because Zach Wilson's going to have some growing pains. It's going to happen. They don't have a whole lot of weapons to throw the ball around. They don't have a ton. We're going to talk about them when we get to that division's breakdown, but their defense didn't get necessarily a lot better than what it was last season. That could be a team I see them beating. That really is. I don't know if they're going to – I don't think that the Patriots are going to come out and look the same as they did last season because Cam looked god-awful. I have zero faith in Tua. Zero. Negative faith in Tua.
The Texans actually have a hard schedule. So do you want to hear their schedule?
Sure, go ahead.
We'll start at week 1. Jaguars at home. Browns in Cleveland. Panthers at home. Bills in Buffalo. Patriots at home. Colts, obviously Indy. Cardinals in Arizona. Rams at home, Dolphins in Miami, Titans, Jets, Colts again, Seahawks, Jaguars, Chargers, 49ers, Titans to end the season.
They're getting one win. One win, and it's the Jets. They're getting one win, and it's a home game against the Jets. I don't know,
No, that's
man.
a really tough, preseason rankings, that's a tough schedule.
Even if they had Deshaun Watson, I don't think they win more than 4 games.
No, last year they won what? They won 4 last year.
Yeah, I don't think they win more than 4. Even with Watson. They just don't. Yeah. They have no talent anywhere. There's just no talent.
Yeah. So we're both unanimous that the Titans win the division.
Yeah.
I mean, we both have them statted out the exact same. Well, basically, the exact
absolutely.
Same records.
They're winning that division.
Yeah, like I said, the only thing is my Jags take. I might have too many wins for the Jags. So.
Well, that's all I got for this division.
Oh, what division are we doing next week?
I don't know yet. I'm gonna take a look.
We're gonna stay in the AFC
We're gonna stay in the AFC. So probably.
I think we should close on the West because it's the best division in the AFC.
Yeah, so let's do the East next week and then the West the week after that.
I wouldn't even say that it's the best. I just want to wait to talk about Kansas City last.
I don't know.
So, all right, guys. That pretty much wraps us out. You could be looking forward to the AFC East next week. So, Bills, Patriots, Miami, and the Jets. So if you're a fan of one of those teams, be sure to tune in. But please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the follow notification bell. And until next time, guys, see you later.